Good afternoon. My name is Sime, and I'd like to thank you for your interest in my campaign's tax platform. I'm running for the State Senate of Virginia in the 24th District. Tax and spending policy tell you a lot about the modern Republican and Democrat parties. In fact, the very similar spending policies of the Democrats and Republicans is a big part of the reason that I'm proud to be a member of the Libertarian Party. Generally speaking, Democrat candidates want to spend more and raise your taxes. The Republicans, by contrast, generally speaking, want to spend more and put our children into more debt. It's not much of a contrast, but this is the state of modern political debate. The Republican incumbent in this district likes to say you have to look at both sides of the ledger. That's true, but the problem is his solutions always seem to involve higher taxes. The other side of the ledger is looking at our state spending. Despite the fact that Virginia's budget has more than doubled in the last decade, our governor and his Democrat and Republican friends in the state Senate still want to raise your taxes. At some point, we simply have to say enough is enough. I am saying enough is enough, and I have signed a pledge not to raise your taxes. Virginia's budget recently grew 118% in only eight years. In fact, when you combine state and local taxes, the tax burdens on Virginians is at its highest level in 35 years. Clearly, the state government's appetite for growth knows no limits. Therefore, we the taxpayers need to set a limit. A Taxpayer Bill of Rights, or TABOR, would limit increases in state spending across the whole budget to the rate of inflation plus population growth. If the tax rates or economic growth lead to a surplus of revenue for the state, then the state would be required to return that to taxpayers unless the public approves spending that money for some other purpose in a public vote. I also will support sunset provisions on all taxes in the General Assembly. Anytime that the General Assembly passes a tax, that bill should be required to include a sunset provision on the tax. That will mean that on a set date, the tax will automatically expire unless the General Assembly renews it. The General Assembly would still be able to keep renewing tax increases on you, but it at least forces them to regularly justify to you why that particular tax is still needed. Without sunset provisions, we will continue to have taxes like the B-poll tax that was originally passed to help pay for the War of 1812 and is still in effect nearly 200 years later. One of the most onerous parts of Virginia tax code is how your home is assessed and taxed. All around our Commonwealth, property values have gone up dramatically, often averaging 30% or more. While this sounds good for the value of your home, it also means your local government will charge you drastically more in taxes unless they make a significant cut in the tax rate. Most localities will make a small cut in the tax rate, yet due to the rising assessments, you are still paying significantly more in taxes. Setting the local tax rate is the prerogative of your local government, but tying this tax rate to your property's rising assessment is required by our state constitution. It's time that Virginia changes the method of local taxation from an assessment-based system to an acquisition value-based system. Under a bill considered in the 2007 General Assembly, and unfortunately killed by a Republican House of Delegates subcommittee, your tax assessment would be limited to increases of 1% per year plus the rate of inflation. If your local government feels they need more money than that, they will be able to raise your tax rate, but they have to be more open in their desire about that, instead of claiming they are cutting the tax rate even though your tax bill is going up. Real leadership is not defined in terms of how much money a politician can take from the taxpayers and then dole out to whoever asks the nicest. The hard part of real leadership is setting priorities on our spending, and our General Assembly has failed to do that for many years. We should fund the core responsibilities of state government first, and only then look at the rest of the budget. For the last several years in Virginia, we have been told that there is a crisis in transportation, and so we have to raise more taxes or spend more into debt. But are we getting the whole story? We do need to fix our roads, and clearly that is a core responsibility of state government. However, the General Assembly does not treat it like a priority. Sure, it gets a lot of attention, but only after they have increased the budgets for all their other favorite programs first. They leave transportation until the end of the debate, because they know we are more likely to support increased taxes if we think they will go to fix our damaged roads. We do have a transportation crisis, but we don't have a transportation funding crisis. The problem is a lack of proper priorities. If we are experiencing such a true crisis in transportation funding, why not freeze spending increases on all other programs until our roads are fixed? When it comes to taxation and spending, neither the Republicans nor the Democrats are proposing a workable long-term solution. I promise that when I go to Richmond, I will consistently and tirelessly advocate for the taxpayers of the 24th District and across Virginia. I believe that we need to elect a strong and independent voice to our state Senate, someone who can bring a refreshing set of principles based around the ideals of small government, the rights of the citizens, and not unduly influenced by the lobbyists and bureaucrats who work in Richmond every day to take part of your paycheck. Thank you again for your interest in my campaign's tax platform. I believe it's time for principled small government in Richmond, and that it's time for a serious look at our state budget and methods of taxation. I hope you agree with me that it's time for Sime, and I'd like to ask for your support this November. Thank you very much. If you have any questions or comments, please send them to me at aaron@aaronsime.com, or you can learn more about my campaign anytime online at aaronsime.com. Thank you.